When Anna pulled a bleeding stranger from a storm-soaked street and saved his life, she believed, naively, that it would end there. She was wrong. The rain slammed against her windshield in violent sheets, blown sideways by the wind, turning the streetlights into smeared streaks of silver. Anna's hands were locked tight around the steering wheel, knuckles aching as her old hatchback fought the storm like a losing battle. Her wipers squealed uselessly, barely keeping up. She shouldn't have been out here. No groceries were worth this kind of weather. But the power in her apartment had flickered twice already, plunging her living room into darkness for long, uneasy seconds. Batteries, candles, anything to make the space feel less like a cave if the lights failed for good. "Just get home," she muttered, leaning forward to squint through the glass. 2 more minutes, maybe 1. She turned onto Maple Street, and then something stepped into the road. Someone. Anna slammed the brakes. The seatbelt snapped tight against her collarbone as the car skidded on slick asphalt, tires screaming in protest. For one horrifying second, she braced for impact, for the sickening thud of a human body. But it didn't come. Instead, the figure collapsed directly into her headlights, dropping to his knees before crumpling onto the pavement. "Oh my God!" The words barely escaped her throat. Her heart pounding, Anna shoved the door open and ran headlong into the storm. Rain struck her like needles, soaking her clothes instantly, plastering her hair to her face. She dropped to her knees beside him without thinking. A man, young, tall, even folded into the street, dressed entirely in black, and bleeding. Blood spilled beneath him, mixing with rainwater into a dark, swirling ribbon that crept toward the gutter. Anna's stomach turned. "Sir?" Her voice shook. "Can you hear me?" His eyelids fluttered weakly. His lips parted, but only a ragged gasp escaped. The damage was obvious now. This wasn't a fall, not a scrape. His shirt was torn and drenched in red. A deep gash marked his side. Too deep. Her fingers trembled as she checked his neck. A pulse. Weak, but there. "Stay with me," she begged, adrenaline roaring in her ears. "I'm calling 911. Before she could move, his hand shot up, fast, powerful. His fingers locked around her wrist with shocking strength. "No, police." His voice was hoarse, nearly swallowed by the rain, but the urgency in it chilled her more than the cold. "You're hurt," she insisted. "You need a hospital." "No police." His grip tightened, pulling her closer. "Please." His eyes opened, and Anna forgot how to breathe. They were unnervingly pale. Sharp, intelligent, aware in a way that didn't fit a dying man in the rain. This wasn't a drunk. This wasn't an accident. This was someone who had been running from something, or someone. Lightning split the sky, briefly illuminating the street. Empty, but not quiet. An engine, distant but moving closer, fast. "They're coming," he whispered, coughing hard enough to fleck blood at the corner of his mouth. His hand pressed instinctively to his side. Don't leave me here." Fear crawled up Anna's spine. Every reasonable instinct screamed at her to run, to get back in her car, to drive away and forget she'd ever seen him. His blood was everywhere. His voice carried danger, and someone wanted him badly enough to hunt him through a storm. But compassion, reckless, irrational, unstoppable, hit harder than fear. She slid her arm beneath his shoulders. "I can't lift you alone." His eyes locked onto hers, wide and desperate. "Don't let them find me." Thunder shook the street. The engine was closer now. Anna didn't think. She didn't plan. She acted. "Come on," she gasped, bracing her feet against the slick pavement. "Lean on me." He did, barely. His weight sagged heavily against her, dead weight she had no business trying to move. But somehow, with a strangled groan, he forced himself upright. Rain soaked them both as she half-dragged, half-carried him to the car. Every second felt like borrowed time. She yanked open the passenger door. "Get in!" He collapsed into the seat, head hitting the headrest, breath shallow and uneven. Anna slammed the door and ran around the car, slipping twice before throwing herself behind the wheel. Headlights appeared at the far end of Maple Street. Someone was coming. Her hands shook violently as she shoved the key into the ignition. What was she doing? Saving a stranger? A bleeding stranger. A stranger who begged her not to call the police. It was insane. But when she glanced at him, pale, soaked, fighting to breathe, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Leaving him there would have destroyed her. The engine roared to life, and Anna drove into the storm. She'd never driven so fast. The stranger slumped in the passenger seat, body shuddering with every breath. Rain and blood streaked his skin. Anna kept glancing at him, panic gnawing at her chest while the windshield blurred into chaos. "Stay awake," she whispered. "Please, just a little longer." He didn't answer, only pressed weak fingers against his wound, as if willpower alone could keep him alive. By the time she reached her apartment's cramped lot, his breathing was shallow, broken. Terror twisted inside her. She couldn't leave him in the car. She couldn't call 911. And she couldn't let whoever was hunting him find this place. "Come on," she urged, pulling at his arm. "You have to help me." For one awful moment, she thought he wouldn't move, that she'd made a fatal mistake. Then he exhaled shakily and pushed himself upright. Together, they stumbled into the stairwell, damp air and old carpet filling her nose. Somehow she got him inside, lowered him onto the couch. "Stay," she said breathlessly, already moving. "I'll be right back." Her first aid kit was laughable. Gauze, wipes, bandages. But it was all she had. Blood stained the cushions. The smell was sharp and metallic. "I need to see it," she said quietly. "Don't," his voice faded. "I have to." She lifted his shirt. A gunshot wound, clean entry. No exit. Her stomach flipped. Someone had tried to execute him. Rain hammered the windows as she pressed a towel to the wound. He groaned, body tensing. "I'm sorry," she whispered, hands shaking. "I know." He gasped, tried to rise, but she held him down. "It didn't hit anything vital," he murmured. "How do you know?" His eyes met hers, glassily sharp. "Because it couldn't. Not yet." A chill slid down her spine. "What's your name?" Silence, then softly. "Rylan." The name felt heavy, dangerous. "You're safe here," she whispered. He let out something like a laugh. "No one's safe around me." He drifted in and out after that, muttering fractured warnings. "Don't let them find me. Marcus will take the throne." "Next in line." Next in line for what? When she finished bandaging him, her hands were numb. His breathing evened, exhaustion dragging him under. "You're going to be okay," she whispered. His eyes opened one last time. "You shouldn't have helped me," he said quietly. "Now they'll come for you, too." Lightning cracked. Thunder shook the walls. Anna stared at him, dread coiling tight in her chest. "What do you mean, come for me?" But he was already gone, lost to pain and sleep. Outside, the storm continued. Anna had saved a stranger in the rain, and in doing so she had stepped into a life that was no longer her own. Rylan woke just before dawn, the storm finally calming to a steady whisper against the windows. Anna had drifted off in the armchair across from the couch, arms folded, chin resting against her chest, her posture stiff with exhaustion. She didn't look peaceful, more like someone who had fought sleep for hours before it finally claimed her. The soft rustle of fabric made her eyes fly open. He was awake. His gaze, pale and unsettlingly sharp even through the bruises of the night, was fixed on her. For a moment, neither of them moved. The house was quiet, except for the drip of water from his soaked clothing and the echo of thunder somewhere far away. "You're still here," he said, voice low and rough. Anna blinked, still trying to pull herself fully into consciousness. It's my apartment. Of course I'm here. A faint smile touched his mouth. Unexpected, fleeting, gone almost as soon as it appeared. You could have left, he murmured. Most people would have. She straightened in her chair, embarrassment pricking through her fatigue. I'm not most people. No, he said softly. You're not. His voice held something she didn't understand, something that made her pulse trip over itself. She cleared her throat quickly, tearing her gaze away. Her living room looked like a disaster. Towels stained red, gauze remnants, a bowl of cloudy water she'd used to clean the wound. The sight jolted her back to the reality of the situation. How do you feel? She asked. Alive, he said simply. More than I expected. Anna frowned. His wound was bad. Not instantly fatal, but close enough to terrify her. You need a hospital. You lost a lot of blood and... No hospital. It wasn't a question, she shot back, heat rising in her voice. You could have internal damage. An infection. Rylan pushed himself higher against the cushions, wincing but not enough to stop. A hospital puts me on record. They report gunshot wounds, and the moment that happens, they know exactly where I am. They? She repeated. Rylan, who's after you? He didn't blink, didn't hesitate, but he didn't answer either. Instead, he said, Water? She stared at him. He was deflecting, avoiding, pretending this was normal when absolutely nothing about it was. But she still stood, went to the kitchen, and brought him a glass. He took it with steady hands, too steady for someone who'd nearly collapsed hours earlier. He drank slowly, eyes on her the entire time, watching her with an intensity she didn't know how to interpret. Only when he set the glass down did she ask again, quieter this time. Who shot you? I'm not telling you that. Why not? Because if you know, he said, his voice dropping low, they'll kill you along with me. Anna's breath caught. There it was. The truth she'd been circling all night without fully facing. He was dangerous, or someone wanted him dead badly enough to risk a storm and a chase through the streets. Either way, she had pulled the wrong stranger out of the rain. She swallowed hard. You said last night that someone was coming, that they were close. What did you mean? Rylan leaned his head back, closing his eyes for a breath before fixing them on her again. It doesn't matter now, he said. They won't come here. You can't know that. His voice lost its edge, softened into something dangerously honest. Because nowhere's safe. Except here. She didn't understand. Not even a little. Why here? Because they won't look in a place like this, he said. With someone like you. She flinched. Someone like me? You're quiet, he said simply. Ordinary. Kind. You helped a man bleeding on the street without asking anything. That's rare. Not rare, she muttered. Human. Rare, he corrected, with a conviction that made something tighten in her chest. She crossed her arms, trying to maintain a sliver of control. This can't be the safest place you've been. You're... what? Running from criminals? From police? From some gang? You can't just hide in the apartment of some random woman you barely know. He held her gaze, unwavering. But I'm safer here than I've been in years. Anna's heart lurched. She didn't want to feel anything when he said things like that. Didn't want the heat in his voice to affect her. Didn't want to care. But she did. Against every reasonable bone in her body, she did. Rylan, she said quietly, I need to know who you are. You already know who I'm not, he murmured. I'm not harmless. I'm not lost. And I'm not someone you should have helped. That doesn't answer my question. No, he agreed, his eyes darkening. It doesn't. He wasn't going to tell her. He had no intention of telling her. And yet, as he pushed himself up fully, the morning light caught the sharp edges of his face, the bruises, the exhaustion, the quiet determination, and Anna felt something seize inside her. Fear, yes, but not just fear. Something else. something she didn't want to name. A pull, a gravity, a feeling that made no sense between two people who had met in blood and rain. He held her gaze, expression unreadable. "You saved my life," he said, voice low. "And because of that, you're caught in something you don't understand. Something I can't pull you out of." "What does that even mean?" she whispered. He inhaled slowly. "It means that whether you want to be or not," he said, "your life just changed." Her heart stopped, and the worst part was, deep down, Anna already knew he was right. The first rays of morning bled through Anna's thin curtains, turning the edges of her living room gold. Soft, quiet, almost peaceful. For a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to pretend the night hadn't happened, that the man on her couch hadn't bled all over her towels, that she hadn't patched up a bullet wound with shaking hands, that he wasn't watching her now with eyes too sharp for someone who claimed he needed rest. But the illusion shattered with the unmistakable echo of engines. Deep. Heavy. Too many. Ryland's posture changed instantly, every muscle going rigid. The way a hunted animal freezes at the crack of a twig. Anna's heart lurched. "What is that?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The sound grew louder, filling her narrow street like a warning siren. Anna hurried to the window, pushing aside the curtain, and felt her stomach drop. Black SUVs, 4. No, 5. Smooth, tinted, moving with practiced formation. "Rylan," she breathed, stepping back from the glass. "Who are those people?" But he wasn't on the couch anymore. He was standing, unsteady but upright. One hand braced against the armrest, the other reaching instinctively for a weapon he didn't have. His expression was grim, resigned, and sharper than any knife. "They found me," he murmured. Anna's pulse spiked. Who? Who found you? I thought you said—" "I told you the truth," he said. "They didn't find me last night." He paused. "But they found me now." Before she could ask another question, the street outside erupted with movement. Doors slammed, boots hit pavement. Voices barked orders. Not chaotic, coordinated. Terrifyingly coordinated. A fist pounded on her door once. Just once. But with enough force to rattle the frame. Anna jumped back. "Don't!" Rylan warned sharply when she instinctively moved toward the handle. "Let me." But the choice wasn't hers. The door burst open. 3 large men in black tactical clothing swept inside with weapons drawn. Not pointed at her, but at every shadow, every corner, every possible threat. Anna pressed herself against the wall, hands trembling. "Living room clear!" one shouted. "Hall clear!" another called. Then they saw him. Rylan. Everything changed in an instant. Their guns dropped. Their shoulders bowed. Their voices softened with something like reverence, fear wrapped in respect. "Sir," the closest man said, dropping to one knee. "We've been searching all night." Another followed suit, lowering himself in a gesture Anna had only ever seen in movies. A third bowed his head, pressing a fist to his chest like some kind of oath. "Mr. Rylan," the man said, voice shaking with relief. We thought you were dead." Anna blinked. "Air?" She looked at Rylan, but his expression was unreadable. Except for the flash of something in his eyes. Anger, control, and a flicker of pain, quickly masked. "You shouldn't be here," Rylan said, voice cold. "You're exposing her." Her? Anna felt the room tilt. All of this, these men, these cars, these weapons, were here because of him, because of who he was, whoever that was. The kneeling man glanced at her, then quickly away, as if seeing her was something he wasn't supposed to do. "Sir, we tracked the last known coordinates," he explained carefully. "When the signal went dead, we feared—" "That's enough," Rylan snapped. Silence fell instantly. Anna's mind spun. "Rylan," she whispered. "What is this? Who are you?" He didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time since she found him bleeding in the rain, she saw the truth. Not in his words, but in the way these men bowed to him, waited on his command, treated her tiny apartment like a war zone they needed to secure. This man, this stranger she saved, was someone powerful, someone dangerous, someone born into a world she had no business touching. "Miss," one of the men said without looking her in the eye, "for your safety, we need you to step aside." Before she could protest, Rylan stepped between them, shielding her with his body, protective in a way that made her pulse trip. "No one touches her," he said, voice like steel. "She saved my life." The men nodded immediately, deferential, terrified of disappointing him. Rylan turned to her then, slower, softer. "Anna," he said, voice low. "I need you to trust me." "How?" she whispered, throat tight. "I don't even know who you are." He exhaled, something heavy in the sound. "I'm the man who owes you more than I can repay," he said quietly, "and the heir to a world that never forgives weakness." He hesitated. "And by morning, that world will know your name." Anna's breath caught. The men rose to their feet. One extended a hand toward her, not to grab her, but to gesture her toward the door like she was someone suddenly under their command. "Miss," he said respectfully, "your transport is ready." "My what?" Rylan's voice came from right behind her, warm, close, devastatingly calm. "Anna," he said, "you're coming with me." And as the men surrounded them, guiding her outside into the blinding morning light, she realized the truth. Saving him hadn't been the end of danger. It was only the beginning. Anna had never seen so many weapons up close in her life, and she hoped, desperately, that she never would again. The hallway outside her apartment was filled with black-clad men moving with a precision that made her skin crawl. Every footstep was measured, every glance sharp, every action aimed toward one purpose: getting her out of her home. Alive, but not free. Rylan stood in the middle of it all, pale from blood loss, yet commanding the room like he'd been born doing it. Even injured, even leaning slightly to one side, he held a kind of gravity that pulled everyone into orbit. Everyone, including her. Two of the men flanked Anna, careful not to touch her, but positioned so she couldn't bolt. "The vehicle is ready, miss," one said gently. "I'm not going anywhere," she shot back, pulse hammering. "You can't just drag me out of my own home." The second man exchanged a look with the first, uneasy, almost apologetic. "We have orders," he said. "From who?" Anna demanded. Both men turned, almost in unison, toward Rylan. He looked at her, not with force, not with threat, but with something far more unsettling. With certainty. "Anna," he said, his voice low and steady, "this isn't optional." She stumbled back a step. "I don't care who you are. You can't just—" "You saved my life," he said, cutting her off. "Which means you're now connected to me, whether you want to be or not." "That sounds like a threat," she whispered. "It's not," he said, jaw tightening. "It's a fact." Her heart sank as the realization hit her like a blow. Those SUVs outside. These men in tactical gear, the way they bowed to him. "Rylan," she said, voice trembling. Did I help some kind of criminal?" A hush fell over the hallway. The men shifted, glancing at each other, waiting to see how their boss would answer. Rylan held her gaze without flinching. "You helped a man who would be dead without you." "That's not an answer." "No," he said quietly. "It isn't." Two more men approached them, one carrying a secure medical kit, the other speaking quietly into an earpiece. "Sir," the one with the earpiece said, "the perimeter is clear, but we should move. There's chatter. Someone else tracked your signal last night. We can't rule out a tail." Anna stiffened. "Someone else? Someone dangerous?" The man hesitated, glancing at Rylan before answering. "Yes, miss. Extremely." Rylan stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him, the storm in his breath, Anna, he said, softer now. I won't let them hurt you. But who are they? She insisted. Who did you make enemies with? The first man finally broke and spoke the truth she wasn't prepared for. You saved the heir to the Ryden Syndicate. Anna stared at him, brain scrambling to catch up. She knew that name. Everyone in the city did. It whispered through headlines, courtroom rumors, whispered warnings at bars. The Ryden Syndicate, one of the oldest, most feared criminal networks on the East Coast. And the man she'd dragged into her apartment, the man bleeding on her floor, was next in line to run it. Anna's knees nearly gave out. No, she breathed. No, you can't be serious. Ryland's expression barely shifted, but there was a flash of something like regret. I told you, he said quietly. You helped the wrong man. 1,000 thoughts crashed into each other in her mind. Fear, disbelief, anger, the urge to run until her lungs burned. So now what? She whispered. What happens to me? One of the men stepped forward, voice surprisingly gentle. Miss, your name and address are already circulating. Someone leaked it. The rivals who tried to kill him last night, they know he survived. They know he wasn't alone. A chill spread through her veins. They'll come for you, the man finished. Anna turned slowly to Rylan. And your solution, she said, her voice shaking, is to, what? Kidnap me? Lock me up somewhere? If I wanted to kidnap you, he said, stepping forward until he towered over her, you'd already be gone. Something in his tone, hard but honest, made her breathing stutter. I'm not taking you, he added. I'm protecting you. I don't want your protection, she snapped. You don't have a choice, he said, voice dropping with quiet finality. Not anymore. One of the SUVs outside revved its engine, as if reinforcing the truth she didn't want to believe. Anna felt the walls closing in. Her apartment, her safe, tiny, ordinary apartment, suddenly felt like a trap. A fragile shell that could be shattered by any of the enemies she hadn't even known existed yesterday. Rylan reached out, but stopped himself an inch before touching her cheek. You're in danger because of me, he said, and I won't let the people hunting me get to you. Her throat tightened. Anna, he repeated softer. Please. It was the please that broke her. Not the demand, not the threat, not the truth about who he was, but the quiet plea of a man who knew he brought danger with every breath and still didn't want her harmed. Her fight drained out of her, replaced by something colder, heavier. Resignation. Fine, she whispered. I'll go, but I'm not doing this for you. Rylan's eyes softened, just barely. I know, he murmured. As the men escorted them to the waiting SUVs, Anna glanced once over her shoulder at her apartment. The life she knew. The life she was leaving behind. And with every step toward the black vehicles, she realized the truth. Saving a stranger in the rain had been the kindest mistake of her life, and the most dangerous one. The drive felt endless. Anna sat wedged between two silent guards in the back seat of the black SUV, her hands clenched together so tightly her knuckles ached. Outside, the city faded into sprawling suburbs, then into forest-lined roads she didn't recognize. Every turn felt like another door closing behind her. Rylan sat in the front passenger seat, pale but alert, watching the road with an intensity that made her stomach twist. It was as if he was memorizing every shadow, every passing vehicle, every possible threat. No one spoke. The SUVs traveled in formation, headlights cutting through the morning fog like spears. Anna had seen processions like this only in movies, political escorts, presidential motorcades, scenes where danger waited beyond every turn. When they finally slowed down, she expected a checkpoint or a gatehouse. Instead, iron rose before them, tall, black, and intricately carved with a crest she didn't recognize. A stylized wolf intertwined with a crown. Elegant, aggressive, cold. Rylan's crest, she realized. The Ryden Syndicate. The gate swung open before the SUV even reached them, as if someone had been watching and waiting. The convoy rolled through, engines echoing against stone pillars, and Anna's breath stilled in her throat. Calling it a mansion wasn't enough. This was an estate, sprawling stone walls, towering windows, balconies with wrought iron rails, gardens carved with geometric precision. It looked ancient and modern at the same time, a fortress wrapped in beauty. And at its center, just visible through the trees, was the house itself. Massive, intimidating, unmistakably tied to power. The SUV stopped at the front entrance. The moment Anna stepped out, she felt dozens of eyes on her. Guards along the perimeter straightened. Staff members paused mid-task. Even landscapers froze, tools in hand. Not because they recognized her, but because she'd arrived with him. Rylan emerged from the SUV slowly, wincing as his injured side protested. The guards stepped forward immediately, offering support he refused with a sharp glance. They backed off instantly, bowing their heads. And then the strangest thing happened. Every single person's attention shifted. To her. As if she mattered. As if she was someone worth noticing. As if she carried weight she didn't understand. A woman in a tailored black suit, poised, elegant, her expression unreadable, approached them. She bowed her head respectfully. "Mr. Rylan," she said softly, "welcome home. Your quarters are prepared. The doctor is waiting." Then her eyes slid to Anna, and for a moment they softened, just slightly. "And this must be Miss Anna?" Heat crept up Anna's neck. Yes. Hi." Every guard within earshot straightened, as if the mere acknowledgement of her name required attention. The woman nodded, her tone shifting into something bordering on respect. "Mr. Rylan's savior." Anna stumbled. I just helped a stranger who was bleeding on the—" But the woman cut her off with a gentle shake of her head. "Saving him is not something strangers do," she said. "Not for him." Rylan's gaze flicked toward Anna, something sharp, unreadable glinting in his eyes, but he said nothing. The woman gestured to the mansion doors. "We have prepared a room for you. If there is anything you need, anything at all, it will be provided." Anna blinked. Room?" "Of course," the woman replied. "You are under our protection." Anna felt cold. "This feels like being kept." Rylan stiffened, turning toward her. "You're not a prisoner." She lifted her chin. "Prove it." His jaw tightened. He didn't answer. The woman stepped in smoothly. "Miss Anna, please. Let me show you inside." Anna followed reluctantly, nerves buzzing beneath her skin. The interior of the mansion was even more overwhelming. Dark wood, marble floors, chandeliers dripping with crystals. Every hallway felt like it stretched forever, every door guarded or locked. Cameras followed them with subtle clicks. Guards stood at attention near staircases and balconies. Not one person looked at her with suspicion. Not one treated her like an intruder. They treated her like she mattered, as though her presence was a command delivered from the top. The woman guided her up a sweeping staircase. "This wing is secure," she explained. "No one enters without clearance. Only those Mr. Rylan explicitly trusts are allowed here." And Anna couldn't ignore what that implied. "Why are they looking at me like that?" Anna whispered. "Because Mr. Rylan brought you here himself," the woman said simply. "Because he does not bring people here. Ever." Anna swallowed hard. "And that means what?" "That means," the woman said, pausing outside a set of double doors, "everyone here is already wondering who you are to him." Before Anna could respond, the doors were pushed open. Her room, if she could even call it that, looked like it had been taken from a luxury hotel abroad. A 4-poster bed dressed in crisp linen, tall windows overlooking gardens, a closet larger than her entire apartment, a private bathroom with marble floors that shimmered like water. She turned slowly. "This can't be for me." It is, the woman replied. By order of Mr. Rylan. Anna felt dizzy. Kindness had led her to pull a stranger out of the rain, and now she stood in a mansion protected by men with guns, treated like someone important, someone claimed, by a powerful heir she barely knew. She sank onto the edge of the bed, trembling. The woman's voice softened. Rest, Miss Anna. You are safe here. Safe. The word echoed strangely in her mind. This place wasn't safe. Rylan wasn't safe. Nothing about this was safe. But for the first time since the night before, she realized something unsettling. Danger didn't scare her nearly as much as the man at the center of it. Rylan. The heir she saved. The man who brought her here. And the only person in this entire mansion who made her feel seen. Anna heard him before she saw him. Quiet footsteps. Firm, controlled. The kind of stride belonging to someone who moved through this house as though every inch of it belonged to him. Which apparently it did. She stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the sweeping gardens below. The estate was beautiful in a cold, unreachable way. Manicured hedges, stone paths twisting through dark pines, fountains carved into shapes of wolves and crowns. It was a kingdom, a fortress, and she was living inside it. The door clicked open behind her. She didn't turn, not until she heard his voice. You're awake. She spun, and the breath left her lungs. Gone was the wounded man leaning against her couch, shivering from blood loss, mumbling half-coherent warnings. Standing in her doorway now was someone entirely different. Rylan wore black slacks and a fitted shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, bandage visible but barely slowing him down. His hair was damp, pushed back from his face. Cleaned up, he was sharper, more dangerous, more unnervingly composed. He looked like a man who didn't just belong in this house. He ruled it. But when his eyes found hers, that ruthless exterior shifted, softened. Only for her. Anna swallowed hard. You're walking around. Already. His lips twitched, not quite a smile. I told you I've been worse. You were shot. And you patched it, he said, stepping inside. Better than some medics I've had forced on me. You need a real doctor, she muttered. His gaze flickered with something like amusement. I had one. He cleared me, and lectured me. Twice. He stopped a few feet away, not too close, but close enough that she felt his presence like heat under her skin. This wing of the estate is private, he said, tone shifting into something more serious. My mother lived here before she passed. No one enters without my permission. Anna frowned. And you expect me to stay here? Yes. As your what? She snapped. Your guest? Your hostage? He exhaled through his nose. I told you. You are not a prisoner. Could have fooled me. His jaw clenched, but his voice never rose. You're here because it's the only place I can guarantee your safety. Rylan, I never asked for... No, he cut in, stepping closer. You didn't. You didn't ask for any of this. But it happened. And now the people hunting me know your face, your address, your car, your name. He paused, letting that sink in. If you leave, you'll be dead before nightfall. Cold fear shot through her. He didn't sugarcoat things, didn't soften reality. That alone terrified her more than any weapon she'd seen so far. She turned away, gripping the windowsill. I don't belong here. I know, he said quietly. She looked back. His expression had changed again, edges softening, the ruthless mask slipping enough to show the man she'd met in the rain. But I need you here, he said. The words hit her like an impact. You need me? He swallowed once, a muscle ticking in his jaw. I owe you my life. That's not something I take lightly. That doesn't mean I have to stay. It does if you want to survive. Anna's breath shook. Fear. Frustration. And beneath both, something far more dangerous. "Why do you care so much?" she whispered. His eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment he didn't hide anything. Not the conflict, not the desperation to keep her safe, not the unspoken truth lodged between them like a live wire. "Because you saved me," he said softly. "No one does that. Not for me." He took another step closer. "Everyone in my world wants something," he continued. "Power, money, position, loyalty." His voice dropped. "You wanted nothing." "I didn't know who you were." "That's the point!" Anna's pulse hammered. "And now that I do," his expression sharpened, "now you understand why I can't let anything happen to you." He lifted a hand, hesitated, then brushed his fingertips gently against her cheek. So lightly, she almost wasn't sure he'd touched her at all. But she felt it. Every nerve ending in her body sparked awake. "You're in my care now," he murmured. "My responsibility." "I didn't agree to that," she breathed. "I don't need you to agree." His voice softened again, unbearably so. "I just need you to stay alive." Silence fell between them, charged, fragile, electric. Finally, he stepped back, walls sliding up behind his eyes again, returning to the cold air she wasn't supposed to touch. "You'll remain in this wing until the threat is gone," he said. "Eat, rest. If you need anything, anything at all, you ask for it. Understand?" She hated that part of her wanted to nod, wanted to trust him, wanted something she couldn't name. Anna lifted her chin instead. "And if I try to leave?" His eyes darkened, not angry, not threatening, but something heavier. "Then," he said quietly, "I'll bring you back." A shiver ran down her spine. He meant it, not as a threat, but as a promise. Anna woke the next morning to a soft chime she didn't recognize, too gentle to be an alarm, too elegant to belong in her old life. For a moment she forgot where she was, stretching beneath silk sheets that felt wrong against her skin. Then her eyes opened and reality crashed back in. The room wasn't hers. The bed wasn't hers. None of this belonged to her. She sat up quickly, heart thumping, scanning the unfamiliar space. The curtains were drawn open just enough to let warm sunlight spill across the floor. Someone had left a tray near the door, tea, fruit, toast, all arranged with military precision. Someone had been inside her room while she slept. A chill slid over her. When she stepped into the hallway, the mansion felt different, tense, quieter. Guards who had barely glanced at her before now stiffened when she walked past, their eyes constantly sweeping the surroundings, hands hovering near concealed weapons. Something happened. She didn't have to say it aloud. She felt it. The air hummed with an energy that made her skin prickle. At the end of the corridor, 2 guards she hadn't seen before flanked the entrance to Ryland's private office. They weren't relaxed like the others. These men looked carved from stone, every muscle coiled. She approached cautiously. "Is Ryland inside?" One guard nodded politely but firmly. "He's in a briefing, Miss Anna. He requested that you stay on this floor for your safety." Her safety. The words twisted painfully, a reminder, again, that she wasn't free here. She was protected, caged, shielded from a danger she didn't fully understand. Anna stepped back, chewing at her lip. She felt eyes on her everywhere she moved. She had saved a stranger. And now an entire criminal syndicate was adjusting their routines around her existence. She returned to her room, restless, hands shaking slightly. The moment she shut the door, voices echoed faintly in the hallway, hurried, clipped, tense. "Posted already." Her face, twice. "We can't let her leave the grounds. Not now." Her pulse spiked. She pressed her ear to the door. "They know she helped him survive." "A bounty if she's captured alive. Ryland's orders are to lock down the estate." Bile rose in her throat. "A bounty. On her." Her fingers trembled as she stepped away from the door, stumbling toward the edge of the bed. She grabbed her phone. dead. She hadn't charged it since the storm. Not that anyone she could call would be able to protect her from this. She needed answers. The mansion felt like a maze as she paced the room, fighting the growing panic clawing up her throat. She didn't know who to ask. Didn't know who she could trust. But the decision was made when a soft knock sounded on her door. "Miss Anna?" A woman's voice, gentle, familiar. The same elegant woman who had welcomed her the day before. "May I come in?" Anna swallowed hard. "Yes!" The woman, Alara, entered with a tablet in hand, her face lined with concern. "We need to talk," she said gently. The bottom dropped out of Anna's stomach. "What happened?" Alara hesitated, glancing at the closed curtains before she swiped across the tablet's screen and held it out. Anna took one look and felt the ground tilt under her feet. It was a grainy photo of her, taken yesterday morning, her hair wet from the storm, her face pale, her hands shaking as she stood outside her apartment. Above it, in bold red letters, "ID confirmed, girl with the air." Below it, dozens of comments. "Find her. Alive only. Orders from the top. Bring her in, she'll make him talk. Bounty raised." Anna felt sick. "This is..." her voice cracked. "This is impossible." Alara shook her head softly. "The rival faction that attacked Mr. Ryland last night has identified you. It appears someone in the area took this picture and sold it to them." Anna stared at the screen, frozen in place, unable to breathe. "They know you helped him," Alara continued, lowering the tablet. "And that makes you a target." A ringing filled Anna's ears, loud, relentless. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would they come after me? I don't know anything. I don't matter." Alara exhaled slowly. "Miss Anna, in the underground, you matter a great deal now." Anna's gaze snapped up, eyes wide with fear. No, I never asked for this. I didn't choose any of this." "That doesn't change the danger," Alara said gently. "The photo has spread across multiple channels. They see you as leverage." Anna backed away until her legs hit the bed. She sank down, shaking. Leverage. She wasn't a person to them. She was a threat, a weakness, a target to exploit. Her breath came unevenly. "What am I supposed to do? Hide here forever?" "Not forever," Alara said softly. "But until this threat passes." A soft knock interrupted them both. Ryland stood in the doorway. No guards, no weapons drawn. Just him. But he wasn't the softened version from earlier. He wasn't the wounded stranger she'd saved. He was ice, controlled, deadly, heir to a criminal empire, and furious. His voice cut through the air, low and lethal. "They put a target on your back." Anna looked up at him, trembling. "I saw..." Ryland's jaw clenched. He stepped inside Dalmamun, shutting the door behind him. The temperature in the room seemed to drop with it. "You're not leaving this wing," he said. "Not the grounds. Not even this hallway without escort." Anger and fear collided in her chest. "You can't..." "Yes," he said sharply. "I can." His gaze softened, barely. "And I will." He stepped closer, stopping just inches from her, every word dripping with a promise he had no intention of breaking. "They want to use you against me," he murmured. "I will burn their world down before I let them touch you." Anna's breath caught. Because he meant it. She wasn't just the girl who saved him anymore. She was the girl the world wanted to hurt, to get to him. And she had never felt more vulnerable, or more tangled in a life she never chose. Anna learned quickly that the Ryden estate wasn't a place you simply walked through. It was a place that watched you. Guards at every corner. Cameras disguised in ornate molding. Silent figures who bowed when she passed, as if she were royalty, not a terrified woman trapped in a gilded cage. At first, the attention unsettled her. Then it suffocated her. Every time she stepped into the hallway, 2 guards materialized behind her. Every time she approached a door, they shadowed the handle before she touched it. And when she wandered too close to the tall windows overlooking the iron gates, one of them politely but firmly said, "Miss Anna, please step back." It felt like her world was shrinking by the hour. She found Rylan in the study, a cavernous room of books and framed maps, a fire burning low in the hearth despite the afternoon sun. He stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back, staring at something far beyond the glass. "Rylan," she said, voice clipped. "We need to talk." He didn't turn. "You're not supposed to be downstairs without escort," he said, voice calm, controlled. "That's exactly what I want to talk about," she snapped. His shoulders stiffened, barely, but he finally faced her. His expression was carved from stone. "Why won't you let me leave the house?" she demanded. "I can't step outside. I can't go near the gates. I can't even breathe without someone watching." He said nothing. "Rylan, I can't live like this. You're alive because of this." His tone was quiet, deadly sharp. Anna stepped closer, anger burning under her skin. "This isn't protection. This is possession." His jaw clenched. He didn't deny it. She pressed on. "Do you hear me? I'm not some trophy to keep on display in your mansion. I'm not yours." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain? Frustration? Something darker? "You think I want this?" he murmured. "You act like you do." "Anna." His voice lowered, roughened. "I'm trying to keep you breathing. I'm trying to keep living," she shot back. Silence crackled between them, charged, brittle, hot. Finally, Rylan stepped forward, closing the space between them until she had to tilt her head to hold his gaze. "You want the truth?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she whispered. His next words hit her like a blow. "I can't let you go." Her breath stuttered. "Why? Because I'm leverage? Because they're using me to get to you?" "No." His fingers curled at his sides, as if he were physically holding himself back. "Because you saved me. And people like me don't get saved." Her anger faltered. He took another step, close enough for her to feel the warmth of him. "I've been hunted since I was 16, he said softly. "Shot at, betrayed, lied to, used. No one in my world reaches out a hand unless there's a price. No one risks themselves unless they want something." Anna swallowed hard. "I didn't want anything. That's why I can't let you go." His voice broke on the last word, barely audible. "No one protects me," he continued. "No one cares if I bleed. And then you." He exhaled sharply, looking away for a brief second as if the memory burned. "You knelt in the rain and saved my life like it meant something." "It did," she whispered. His gaze snapped back to her, intense and unguarded. "And I won't forget that," he said. "Not ever." For a moment the room felt too small, too quiet, too charged. Anna's heart beat hard against her ribs, not in fear, but in something dizzying, confusing, unwelcome. "Rylan," she said gently, "protecting me shouldn't look like locking me away." "You don't understand," he murmured. "If you're outside these walls, they'll take you. Not to hurt you," his voice thickened, "but to break me." She shivered. He took her hand, just her fingers, light, careful, as if she were something fragile. "I'm not your warden," he said, voice low, "but I am your shield." "And what if I want to choose my own shield?" she whispered. His expression darkened, not with anger, but with fear. "You don't know what's out there, and I'd rather you hate me alive than thank me dead." Anna felt her resistance crumble, not because she wanted to surrender, but because beneath his power, beneath the steel, beneath the air, there was a man, a wounded one, a scared one. And she didn't know how to turn away from that. He released her hand slowly, as though it hurt to let go. "You stay here," he said quietly, "until I end this." "And what if ending it costs you everything?" she asked. His lips curved, not a smile, not a smirk, something far more haunting. Then at least you'll live to remember me. Her breath caught, because she realized suddenly, terrifyingly, that he meant every word. Anna barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes. The stormy night she'd pulled Rylan from the road, the blood on her hands, the black SUVs outside her apartment door, the files circulating with her picture under the word leverage. Her life, once so ordinary it felt small, had exploded into something she didn't recognize. Danger. Secrets. A mansion filled with silent watchers, and Rylan, always Rylan, hovering between protector and captor, salvation and ruin. When morning came, the sky outside the estate was iron gray, as if even the weather refused to choose a side. She stepped out onto the balcony of the private wing she'd been confined to. Her breaths puffed small clouds into the cold air. Guards stood at the perimeter below, rifles slung over shoulders, scanning the forest beyond the walls. Somewhere out there, people were hunting her. And somewhere inside this estate, someone else was waiting. Rylan found her leaning over the stone railing, fingers gripping it as if she could squeeze an answer out of it. "You're up early," he said softly. She tensed. She couldn't help it. Everything about him, his quiet step, the command in his posture, the impossible calm, unnerved her and drew her in at the same time. "I couldn't sleep," she murmured. He stepped beside her, leaving just enough space to make it look polite, but not enough to truly escape his presence. He smelled like cedar and cool air and the faintest trace of gun oil. His shirt was rolled at the sleeves. His forearms were marked by faint scars she hadn't noticed before. "Anna," he said gently, "you're not trapped. You're protected." She let out a sharp breath. "Protected or owned? I'm not sure you know the difference." He didn't flinch, didn't look offended. He simply watched her with eyes that made her heart twist in ways she desperately tried to ignore. "I know exactly what you're thinking," he said, voice low. "Run. Disappear. Get your life back." She looked away. "Wouldn't you, if you were me?" "No," he answered without hesitation. "Because running would get you killed." She swallowed. Hard. Maybe staying will, too. He turned fully toward her then, lifting her chin with one finger, not possessively, but with unbearable gentleness. "Not while I'm breathing," he said. And that was the problem. He meant it. He would burn the world before letting anyone touch her, and she wasn't sure anyone had ever fought for her before. "Rylan," she whispered, "I don't belong in your world." "You're already in it." "And if I choose to leave?" He stepped back, not from rejection, but as if giving her space to move, to choose, to breathe. It was the first time he hadn't crowded her, and somehow that made her chest tighten more. "If you walk out that gate," he said quietly, "I will let you go." Her heart tripped. "But the people out there won't. They will find you. They will use you." His jaw clenched. "Because you saved the wrong man on the wrong night." "You make it sound like I had a choice. You didn't." His eyes softened. "You never had a choice that night. But you have one now." He motioned toward the estate, toward the endless halls and guarded doors. "Stay, and I will keep you safe. I won't cage you. I won't own you. You'll walk beside me, not behind." Then he motioned toward the distant gates. "Leave, and you walk alone, with a target on your back and a dozen men hunting you before sundown." Anna stared at him, at the man who'd bled in her apartment, who'd woken terrified and broken, who now stood like a storm contained in a body. "Why do you care?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. "Why does any of this matter to you?" His answer came slowly, quietly, painfully honest. "Because you saw me dying, and chose to save me." He exhaled, breath visible in the cold. "And no one has chosen me, ever." The truth hung between them, fragile and enormous. She looked down at her trembling hands, at the life she'd had, at the life she might have, at the man who could break her heart far easier than any enemy could take her life. "Tell me what happens if I stay," she whispered. Ryland's chest rose with a deep, steady breath. "You become someone they can't touch," he said. "Someone I protect with everything I am. Someone who doesn't have to run anymore." "And if I fall for you?" she asked before she could stop herself. His gaze darkened, softened, a quiet storm swirling behind his eyes. "Then I will spend the rest of my life making sure that never destroys you." Her pulse thundered. The wind cut cold across her skin. Inside, a decision she never asked for pressed hard against her ribs. Run into danger, or stay with danger. But only one danger felt like a choice she wanted to make. Anna exhaled shakily, and finally, she chose. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.